How he is again. Uh, One thing that people never talk about in this scene is the power of money, the magic of cash. This is one of the reasons why I don't ever believe that the powers that be will abolish cash, because cash and particularly notes and coins are charged with a certain energetic charge that's very powerful if you know how to use it. For instance, these coins here. These are Norwegian and Danish coins, which I basically had, well, in kind of like touched by the power of Odin and Thor. Okay, and they do give me protection. They do make me feel good, and they may mean nothing. They may just be trinkets, but there's something about it. I can't explain it. Now, when I was a kid and I first moved to New York, I was working in a restaurant, and it was in a sort of a poor neighborhood, and these African American and Latino working class guys used to come in with the wallets packed like this, and I used to think they were all really rich guys, and they kind of spent their money with a sense of flair. They'd say things like, "My good man, 2 beers," and "Have one for yourself," and the notes were taken out like this, and I used to love it. There was something kind of theatrical about it. And I found out later that the piles of wallets were on payday were all $1 bills all the way down. And this was called ghetto rich. What they would do is poor guys over there would say if they got paid $200 pay, they would ask their boss to pay them in singles, $1 bills, or they would get it all changed into $1 bills and fives themselves. And it created an energy within that. Now, this may sound silly and may sound stupid, but remember, if you look at money, it's filled with sigils, it's filled with talismans, it's filled with charms. And these have a magical effect on our consciousness. Very, very powerful. We may not know this, but they do. This is why things like the resource-based economy and cashless society does not excite human beings. It does not affect us in the same way. Now, the power of money has always been cash has always been subconsciously known by people. This is why Irish farmers used to keep money under the mattress and never in the bank, because it never lost its power, especially if they had their children, and even their children were birthed upon that money. It was guaranteeing to actually charge the money even more. This is why it's very, you always see those scenes in movies where a couple robs a bank, like a sexy couple, and they often take the cash, go back to the hotel room, throw the cash all over the bed, and have sex on top of the cash. In fact, a lot of normal couples do that. It's kind of like a sexy turn-on, kinky thing, and God bless them for doing it. That's healthy sexuality, and they do it on the money. Almost instinctually, because somehow they know it's connected to power. The same thing when a couple gets married and they get their little dowries of money in the envelope. They'll often go back to the hotel room on the first night in the hotel, and they'll have sex surrounded by the money they've collected. They're charging the money with the sex magic of the honeymoon, the first night of the honeymoon. So money has a charge, and money has an energy, and this is when you're a slave to money. If you're a penny pincher, no matter how poor I was, and I'm still fucking broke, but no matter how poor I was, I used to never penny pinch money, because that meant I never sat down the week and went, "I've got so much for this and so much for that and so much for this," because then you are eternally impoverished. But if you live in a state where you just don't think about money, you find that your bills are paid somehow. I can't explain it, it just happens. Money has a magic. Money has a talismanic sigil effect. And when you learn to work with it, you see, the rich don't know, the rich don't care about how much money they have. They don't think about money. Do you ever notice that? You ever hear the expression, the ones who don't think about money always seem to have it? That's the same thing. They're imposing their magical spell on cash rather than money imposing it on them. And so this is why things like loans and usury, interest rates, and all these kinds of things, like big loans I'm talking about, are particularly evil, where this may sound strange, but it's actually less evil to get, let's say, a pile of cash in terms of its energetic effect on you and your life off a loan shark than it is to get imaginary numbers off a bank. This is why you hear far more people's lives are destroyed by banks than the loan shark down the road, because they deal in cash. There's something about the exchange of coin. Is very, very powerful ritual, ritual. And this is why money will probably never, cash will probably never be abolished. There's a if you go to the third world, you'll see like guys in Africa with all the different currencies, and they can do all the calculations in their head. These guys are geniuses, and they're just street kids in like Lagos and places like that. Young guys, and they're like, yeah, oh yeah, dollar, Swiss francs, what have you got? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we go. And they have tremendous economic power, because cash, if you have €5 or 5 €1 or 5 $1 or 5 Canadian Deutschmarks, you know, kroners, whatever you have in cash, this cash here has more power than an imaginary 1 million loan that just digits punched out in the bank. And that's why money is magic and cash will never vanish. And this is why you have to learn how to never be a slave to cash. Never develop a fear-based reality of approach to it. And take heed from those lads that used to be back in the ghetto in New York, used to go, have one for yourself, my man, because you know something? Those guys were more spiritually tuned in than any motherfucker who was dumb enough to join the New Age cult and wait for a fucking comet to come and collect them.